Hi, I'm Cherie Lindbergh, and welcome to Elevated Life Academy, where we share real stories of healing, hope, and transformation. Tune in to hear how everyday people are rising above and lighting the way for others. Welcome to another episode of Elevated Life Academy, and I am your host, Cherie Lindbergh, and today we have a special guest, Judy, and I'm going to let Judy introduce herself, and then we're going to share about what Judy is doing in the world and some of her gifts and how that might help some of you listeners. So welcome, Judy.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me, Sherry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my name is Judy Hawley. I am a trauma therapist and a coach. I help people with life problems, ADHD, manifestation. So my business is called Manifestation Therapy and Coaching. I have my own podcast. Thank you for being on it.
Yes.
Recently, I'm really connecting spiritually. So I'm expanding my practice to include a more spiritual side of coaching with Kundalini energy. And I'm not quite sure where I'm going with everything yet, but it's a journey and the one that I really am enjoying. So
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, you're following the energy, it sounds like, wherever it's
Exactly.
taking you.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you get to focus to be a therapist? And then how did that shift into coaching and then moving towards spirituality for yourself?
Well, I'm in Canada, so we do things a little bit differently up here, but I did things very differently. So I actually started out in child psychology after high school in university. Whoops. But I was very ADHD, but not diagnosed.
Yeah.
So I went to university and I could only take one psych course the first year and two the second year. And I was like, well, this is both because I don't want to take two courses in this and Shakespeare. I want to take anyway. I ended up dropping out and traveling Canada. I hitchhiked across the country. I was a little wild in my 20s, ended up um, wanting to take social work, and everybody said, "Oh, don't take that. There's no future in it." So I took computers instead. Listened instead of listening to my intuition. Big lesson in life. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So I was fixing computers and programming, which I was good at, but I didn't really enjoy. And then eventually, after the loss of about 8 people in my life, I found myself unemployed again, um, and decided instead of focusing on what I couldn't have, I was going to focus on just going with the flow. So I kind of celebrated the loss and was led by the universe into a second careers training that we have in Ontario in Canada,
Mhm.
where they put me through schooling. So I got to go back to college and I took social service work, where I found addictions work was one of my skills. And then from there, just expanded. I ended up getting two more degrees in social work and then social developmental studies, which is kind of like lifespan studies.
Mhm.
And then my master's, all within like a 5-year period. And the universe, I became a single mom in that time. The universe kind of conspired, and I only paid maybe 3,000 in total for all of that education.
That's
So very
amazing.
blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since that time, I have worked in hospitals, I've worked in forensics, crisis, treatment centers. I work a lot with families and youth. Borderline personality disorder was one of my specialties for a while. And all along that time, I had it in my mind to manifestation was a big thing for me and to write a book for supportive professionals on how they could integrate the universal principles and manifestation into their own work. So eventually I found my voice and I was able to actually get that out of me. And here I am today. I'm a trauma therapist, trained in multiple modalities, brain spotting, EMDR, and internal family systems.
Mm-hmm.
And my spiritual work is just kind of expanding into more.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like how did you shift or as you're moving from, the trauma work, it sounds like now you're opening up to more spiritual paths.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this today, and everything is connection. And we know that. We know that we are all connected. We are all one to everything. But really, everything is connection. Like trauma, you're disconnected from your body when it's
Mhm.
happening. In addiction, you're disconnected from everything. The
Mhm.
opposite of addiction is connection.
Mhm.
And so I've found that when I'm working with my clients, whether it's in therapy or in coaching, when I support them in connecting to themselves, into the bigger picture, into spirituality, when I support that kind of connection, that's how they heal the
Mhm.
best and the fastest. And
Mhm.
so for my own, the connection has returned because I was always very, very spiritual, but I
Mhm.
kind of let it disconnect, I guess.
Mhm.
But,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
So refinding that has really led me on, oh, if I support my clients in that spiritual side of things and
Mhm.
connection, they heal so much faster and so
Mhm.
much they return home. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, what you're saying is very powerful. Lisa Miller wrote the book The Awakened Brain, and she talks about just having a belief greater than ourselves. Just having that belief is an 80% buffer to depression. I mean,
Wow.
that's huge. Like, why are we not talking about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, it
Yeah.
makes sense because when you go into the spiritual, you're also going into the connection, like you said, coming home to who they truly are.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't it help them heal?
Right.
Because then they start to love themselves more and trust themselves more. And
Yeah.
so, what are some of the methods you use to help and facilitate that for your clients?
So as I said, I'm ADHD. So when I go with something I like, I really go with it.
Mhm.
So EMDR, brain spotting, internal family systems. I trained in neuro linguistic programming, motivational interviewing, emotionally focused therapy. So
Mhm.
I've learned that I don't really follow the rules. And so
Mhm.
I integrate them all.
Mhm.
Or intuitively, I kind of focus on what the client needs in the moment and let the answer come, and that's where we go.
Mhm.
So I guess there's no real easy answer to that other than I really support them where they're at, which
Yeah,
is, yeah.
that's what I'm hearing, and that you meet them where they're at, and from based on that, you let your intuition
Yes.
come up with what tool you're gonna use because that tool can reach them and another tool might not or whatever. That's
Right.
what I'm
Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
like the
I
creative process. It's
Yes.
okay.
I will say it's always about the connection. Like,
Mhm.
where do you feel it in your body? And I notice some people are more body focused, some people are more emotional, a lot of people are more logic based. So
Right.
it's kind of building that, okay, you know what's going on in your body, but what's the emotion? Right.
Mhm.
And how do you process that? So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that you're working with them on the mind-body connection so that they can feel it in their bodies, but also think and grow the awareness so that there's a
Yes.
communication going on.
Right. And
Okay.
then usually what happens is the connection to the bigger picture, the bigger source or
Mhm.
internally. And sometimes they have I mean, I'm sure you've witnessed it, but it's amazing like visions or
Mhm.
connections to the higher source. So, right.
Yeah, and I talk to a lot of practitioners, especially new ones that the first time that happens, it can really jar them and scare them like what's happening in my counseling office or what
Yeah.
just happened? I need to talk to somebody. Can you give me an example of maybe one of the first times where you held space and you had this experience with a client where you're like, "Whoa."
I'm not sure I remember one where, like, it kinda threw me for a loop, but I will say it, like, excites me.
Mhm.
I did have one that was very powerful, very logic-based individual, and they had a vision of, like, we were doing kind of a internal family systems of age thing, and they
Mhm.
did an internal view, and it became this huge light being that had,
Mhm.
within the light being's heart, all these different ages of themselves and different versions of themselves were all gathered within this being's heart. And for
Mm.
them, it was very transforming. And I was
Yeah.
just blown away by this logic based individual having such a vision and being able to connect with it on that level. So that's
Mhm.
one of the ones that come to mind.
Mhm.
And I will say early on, I guess, in my very young days, I had a youth that would talk to their grandparent,
Mhm.
and they were referred to me to kind of get rid of it, to remove it from their life because they were possibly schizophrenic or having.
Mhm.
And instead, what I found was it wasn't a source of discomfort, it was a source of comfort because their
Yeah.
grandfather had been their only unconditional support in their life, so it was bringing them light and healing.
Mhm.
So instead of getting rid of it, of course, I allowed it and encouraged it to be something that they found support in, whether it was real or not. I use those words, but yeah, to help them connect with that
Mhm.
source. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit more of working with your clients that are moving into the spiritual and then the manifesting? Like, what are some of the tools that you use to help them, like, manifest their desires?
Right. I always do the grounding. So we do meditations a lot of connecting to that grounding cord that's dropping into the crystal core center of the earth. And then allowing them to connect to the higher source with the light from the crown of their head. I do a lot of body scans, which help them kind of connect to themselves. Um, and then just allowing them to connect with their nervous system and whatever's being held within it
Mhm.
at the same time as the emotion. And through that processing, the spirituality side of things just it naturally comes because
Mhm.
we are spiritual beings, right? So
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
I find I don't have to steer them in that direction.
Mm.
It
Just
comes.
naturally emerges.
Yeah.
So, like, if I came to you, you know, and I said, like, I really want to manifest, you know, I don't know, maybe a different program, or I want to make a certain amount of money or anything like that, you would start with connection and notice
Connection. Yes.
connection.
I would start with connection, and through that connection, what is disconnecting you? So what's preventing that? What is keeping you in that feeling that you can't have it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then from there, what does it feel like, look like? What is it going to change for you to get that? Um, and how can you honor where you want to be now? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of process. And then I do also do a lot of different pieces of like letter writing or journaling to connect to the subcortical brain that way.
Mm-hmm.
I work with people who are ready to work.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a big difference.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that would be important you'd want to share with our listeners?
I would say that right now there's so much going on in the world,
Mhm.
um, in North America, but in the whole world,
Yes.
that if we begin to focus on all of that, we lose sight of where we want to be and who we
Mhm.
really are.
Mhm.
And so unplugging and really connecting with your internal light is so
Mhm.
important right now. And that's kind of the message that I've been receiving is it's really important to just remain true to who you are and who you want to be rather than focusing on the lack and the issues that are happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's hard because you wanna be supportive and protective and all those kinds of things, and at the same time, if I'm a hot mess, then I can't do that. I can't
Yeah.
do those things, so I hear what you're saying is nurture ourselves and bring in our light and connect to spirit, and that'll guide us,
Yeah.
and help us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Just-
do you have any daily habits or
yes.
just habits that you. Yeah, would love to
Um,
hear.
So a couple of the things I manifested was children because I was told I couldn't have them. So
Oh,
I have a 12-year-old that I had at 38 and a almost 5-year-old that I had at 46. So I have
wow.
a very busy life.
Yes.
And so it's so important to me to have my mornings. So I get up about 4:30 and I meditate for about an hour and I work on whatever my projects are.
Mhm.
I listen to a lot of bilateral stimulation music
Mhm.
or meditations, affirmations, and I have that time to myself and it
Mm.
charges me for the day ahead. So
Yeah.
that's definitely my biggest that I do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. I have a similar habit. I always like to talk about habits or practices we have in the morning. I come down, I put on the bilateral music, I get on a brain spot, and then I after I'm done like 5, 10 minutes just listening to my future self, I'll journal, write down
Yeah. Oh,
something.
nice.
So we have some similar
Yeah.
things that we do.
Yeah. It's so hard if I don't get that in the day. I really notice the difference.
Yeah, it's a grounding point, it sounds like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Judy, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing, and we will make sure we have all your socials connected
Mhm.
to this podcast so that if people want to reach out to you and learn more about your coaching. Are you do you have I just want to check in, do you have any other programs that you're doing as well, or is it more
I
one-on-one work or group work that you're doing?
So I do one-on-one, but I'm working on a group right now,
Okay,
taking
great.
people on the wait list for ADHD and anxiety.
Okay.
So there's that. And as well, I have a universal principles course that if
Okay.
people sign up for my newsletter, they can receive that.
Wonderful, wonderful. So
Yeah.
we'll make sure we have all those connections
Yeah.
for you. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was lovely.
I hope you enjoyed our guest, Judy Hawley, that came today and she shared about different ways that she's supporting people that are interested in going deeper and doing their work so that they can manifest the life of their dreams. We talked a little bit about some of the habits that might get you there, and also talking about just learning to go inside, and that at the core, it's all about connection. So, as I've said before, if you found this helpful, we'd really appreciate you sharing it with a loved one or someone that you think would find this helpful to them, because we're really trying to get it out into the world and help people realize that you can live an elevated life. It's just a matter of some of the choices that you make, and maybe you're going to connect to some of these resources, and all this will help you. So thank you so much for listening until we see each other again.